Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Chat About It with me, Rachel, aka the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters. Today, though, I'm not going to really be doing anything that's going to get on my haters' nerves, although it might. We are talking about Doctor Who, of course, which obviously seems to rile up my haters even more, but it's not that kind of video. I'm not going to call out any woke rubbish that we get with the Doctor Who today. I am listing my doctors in the order from my least favourite to my most favourite. Now, I'm going to start by saying I like the doctors. I like all of them. They all bring different qualities to the character. I won't be including Ncuti Gatwa on this list because his tenure as the Doctor is not yet over as it stands, and I can't really judge him at the moment. It's really difficult for me to judge at this stage. And I'm going to give a special shout out to Jo Martin, Fugitive Doctor. I just don't consider the Fugitive Doctor as part of the timeline. I don't. I won't go beyond that. That's just me. And a special shout out to also our War Doctor, John Hurt, who's not going to be included in this list. I am looking mainly at the main Doctors 1 through straight to 14, and obviously not including Ncuti Gatwa because he's not yet finished his run as the Doctor. Number 14, Jodie Whittaker. I felt like Jodie Whittaker was suffering from poor writing. I also felt like she was trying to emulate too much of Matt Smith and David Tennant, and while she was very clear that she was trying to play an intelligent character, I felt like she would have been better suited to either the Rani or Romana. And that's just me. You may like Jodie, and that's great. Good for you if you like Jodie, and I totally respect that decision. In at number 13 is number 14, David Tennant. I wasn't too keen on this version of the Doctor that was brought back in to save everything, and well, it didn't go according to plan, did it? Because it became woke. But I'm not focusing on that in this video. I'm not focusing. But I felt like he was just there, and he was just going through the motions. There's a saying where actors go through the motions and not 100% commit, and I felt like that was the case here. He was going through the motions. So it didn't do a lot for me, I'm afraid. In at number 12, this one would seem very controversial to some people, but Tom Baker is my number 12. Doctor number 4. Yes, Tom Baker. Now, here's the situation. He's a very good doctor, actually, and he is most people's favorite doctor. He's a fantastic doctor. I'm not going to lie, but I felt like the fact that he stayed for 7 years just made it too long for him. And I felt like it was becoming old hat, and there was a lot of things that may have been coming in from the outside, coming onto set and being put into the character. I just felt like he ended up losing his way a little bit. And that's just for the time period. His length on the show, his number of series, he was there a long time. In at number 11 is Matt Smith. Fish fingers and custard. Matt Smith, Doctor number 11 and 11th spot. He was great as the Doctor as well. He had lots of energy, but I think at first when he first started, he kind of didn't know what he was going to do with it. So he emulated, of course, a fair bit of David Tennant, I felt. And eventually he did settle into it. I just felt like he could have had a bit more oomph, though. I just felt like it. And his regeneration, even though it was a good regeneration, that sort of head movement at the end into Peter Capaldi, I kind of felt that was a bit sort of like strange. It didn't sit well with me. Anyway, in at number 10, Paul McGann, Doctor number 8. Paul McGann. I actually like Paul McGann very much as the Doctor. He's a very, how can I describe it? A soft sort of Doctor. And the movie wasn't that great. It was okay. It was watchable, but it wasn't great. And I felt like Big Finish audio dramas have actually made him come into the character more. He's been able to explore it more. And yes, his Doctor is still very much soft. But he can get direct and blunt. And I think when he came back for, I think was it called The Night of the Doctor, where he came back to actually do his regeneration, seeing that on the screen actually really solidified for me that he was the Doctor. And I love that whole entire sequence. It's such a shame though that he couldn't actually be in the special or anything like that, but you know, it is what it is, and Big Finish have actually done him a lot of favors. And at number 9, Jon Pertwee. I know Jon Pertwee is a favorite for a lot of people. He's not my favorite though. His Doctor was very much the Caped Crusader type of superhero Doctor with the jumping Jehoshaphat and all the fistfights and everything. He was also the Earthbound Doctor. And for me, just personally, it wasn't for me. But if you like Jon Pertwee, go for it. He is good in his own right as the Doctor. In at number 8 is Christopher Eccleston. I love it. He's the first sort of Doctor to really bring in a more strong, honed in, different accent. I like that. It's great. And I wish he had stayed for more. But obviously, things behind the scenes, things go wrong, this, that, and the other. So he didn't, and that's fine. And that's probably why he scores quite low down on the list in many respects, because he didn't stay for longer, so we didn't get to see more. We know that he was a favourite of our dear Queen's because she actually asked the BBC to send her the DVDs for Christopher Eccleston, which I'm gathering they did because she really liked him as the Doctor. So there you go, you know. But yeah, I just felt like he needed a bit more to do. But he did his job. He brought it back with a bang, and a lot of people liked him. Just wanted to see more, really. He's that kind of person that leaves you wanting more. It was more Christopher Eccleston. But he will never come back as the Doctor unless so-and-so is fired. In at number 7, Sylvester McCoy, a first Scottish Doctor. Now, he came in at a turbulent time of the series, of course, you know, with the unceremonious firing of Colin Baker. He came in and he took over for Colin. He did Colin's regeneration. And what actually, for me, scores Sylvester McCoy quite high up on this list is the fact that the Big Finish writing has actually allowed Sylvester McCoy to explore the Doctor more. And I always feel like he delves into the Doctor's mind quite a lot. But he also scores quite high up because I actually like his Davros story. And it ended with him, but yeah. He's my number 7. And at number 6 is William Hartnell. Now, this is obviously quite high up on the list. Our first Doctor, and yes, William Hartnell is the first Doctor. I don't count Jo Martin as the first, nor as those children. I don't buy the whole timeless child stuff. And that's just me. That's my personal opinion. You can accept it as canon, and I don't have to. It's absolutely fine. William Hartnell, I liked him. I liked him a lot. He introduces the story. I love it when he gets his lines wrong and he flubs the name of his companions. I love all of that. It's great. And he just started it all for us. He had a certain feistiness, a little bit of a short temper, a doddery old man. It's a shame that he had to leave when he did, but I just feel like he deserves his place on the list. Doctor number 2, Pat Charlton, is in at number 5, and he's in at number 5 because I felt like he offered a much-needed contrast to William Hartnell's Doctor. The fun little recorder, the flip of the coin, and all of that. And the goofy costume. I thought his costume was quite goofy, and I loved his relationship with Jamie and Zoe as well. And yeah, for me, he's in at number 5. Number 4 is Peter Davison. Now, I feel like Peter Davison's version of the Doctor is a much more humane but quite arrogant version of the Doctor. And he feels like he's like a very approachable persona. And especially coming in off of Tom Baker's kind of loud, almost brash type of Doctor, it was much needed change. And we needed to see that contrast. And that contrast plays off very well. And he's good at all the comedy and the stick of celery. I love the stick of celery. I don't know why I do. I just love the stick of celery. And for Peter Davison, he's many people's favourite Doctor. But yeah, I love this sort of more humane but arrogant, a lot calmer approach in conjunction with Tom Baker, which is why he. But actually, what scores him high on my list really is Enlightenment. Enlightenment is one of my favourite Peter Davison's adventures, because it's really a good time where you see the Doctor and the companions actually having conversations. You don't often get that in the TV series, particularly in classic. You don't often get that at all. So it was nice to see it. And then in at number 3 is Peter Capaldi. I liked Peter Capaldi. I really did. I liked the fact that his Doctor didn't want to do hugs. I'd gotten over all this touchy-feely, huggy Doctor stuff by the time Peter Capaldi came onto our screens. And I also believe that Peter Capaldi should have been the Doctor that it finished on. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, I found him, it could be quite abrasive, quite abrupt. But I like that because it is kind of old school Doctor Who. And I like the fact that he brought that back to the classic. Yes, Chris Eccleston, David Tennant, and Matt Smith all did that in their own way, but Peter Capaldi was like, let's bring it home. And of course, he's a much older Doctor, and we hadn't really had a much older Doctor since John Pertwee, really. So it was good to see an much older Doctor. It was really good to see. And at number 2 is David Tennant, Doctor number 10. Now, I actually find David Tennant's Doctor somewhat overrated. Even though he's high up on the list, I do find him overrated. But there were things that I liked about his Doctor. He drew on some of the older Doctor stuff from classics. Obviously, his favourite Doctor is Peter Davison. He brought in the glasses that Peter Davison had. He brought in the, was it Converse? I can't remember what he was had on his feet, but which also Peter Davison had. And there were certain things that he did that were very Peter Davison Doctor-esque type of Doctor. But yes, he is in at number 2. His relationships with his companions were also very compelling as well. And I think he did a great job with that. In at number 1, and this is the most controversial one, because normally this is everyone's least favourite Doctor. For me, my favourite Doctor is Colin Baker. Colin Baker, Doctor number 6, rainbow-coloured coat, Colin Baker. Colin Baker is an excellent example of things going wrong at the BBC. Now, it's nothing to do with him. He was the face of the show, and he was blamed quite a lot for the things that went on. And I think that was unfair. That was very, very unfair. He suffered from terrible writing. But what I liked about his Doctor was that he actually tried to bring some of the older Doctors back into it, obviously coming off the back of Peter Davison. So again, we needed a contrast to Peter Davison, so he gave us that. Unfortunately, with the Twin Dilemma being sort of like last-minute rewrites and being straight after Peter Davison, so eventually it didn't help. But that's just the way that it was. He took the rap for a lot of things. He was my favourite before Big Finish, but Big Finish have also solidified Colin Baker as my favourite 100%, because they have shown that if you actually give an actor a damn good script, an actor can give you a damn good performance if they are good enough. And that is the case with Colin Baker. They have proved that. They proved it so much that they actually gave him his regeneration story, which he was refused by the BBC originally. He was refused his series by the BBC, but they wanted him to regenerate, which at the beginning of Sylvester McCoy's first one, which he, of course, refused to do on principle, which is fair enough. So, yes, Colin Baker is my favourite Doctor. Who is your favourite Doctor? Why don't you list your favourite Doctors for me? And I will be back with you soon with some more news in the industry. But until then, thanks very much for watching or very much for listening, depending on where you are. Subscribe to my channel. Join me on Spotify. Join me on YouTube. It'll be great to see you here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.